the Shedeur Sanders situation has gotten to conspiracy theory level craziness. And it's just, I don't know what else to say at this point, man. Like, let's start with Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson's comments this morning. I forgot what radio show he was on, but he has a source in the NFL, and allegedly the NFL wanted to make an example out of Shedeur Sanders and told teams to take him off the draft board, do not draft him, told the Browns do not do what they ended up doing, and the NFL wanted to make an example out of him, right? And I think it's important to have context and nuance when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, which a lot of people fail to do with people like Shedeur. The reason why people are praising and freaking out over his week 1 performance versus the preseason performance versus the Carolina Panthers is because prior to that, people were talking about Shedeur Sanders like he was a bum, right? His star receiver on his college team won the Heisman Trophy. Yes, Travis mostly won because of the fact that he played receiver and cornerback at the level he did, but he also played, again, what? Receiver. Someone had to throw him the ball. He did not play quarterback. Shedeur Sanders played quarterback. Shedeur threw for over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in a season. So let's not act like he is some bum. And people were acting like that. And that's why when he went out there and showed that he belonged and that he was a competent quarterback, we all knew he was because all of us had eyes and we watched him in college, it was nice. And then you also have the big brands, Nike, Gatorade, for example, who have invested in this young man's future, and he is now tied to their future. They want him to succeed. They want him out in the field, right? That's why every single time he's out there doing anything, he immediately gets a ad 2 seconds later. You know, it's already printed because they already had stuff ready for Shedeur Sanders' ascension into the NFL. Let's make that very clear. Right? They wouldn't have invested all of this stuff simply because he's Deion Sanders' son. Brian James is, arguably LeBron James is more famous than Deion Sanders. Arguably. Brian James does not have nearly the kind of endorsement Shedeur has. Now, granted, Brian James' college career was different, but you get my point. So, you have all this. And it's not a stretch to say when it comes back to Eric Dickerson's comments about this, right? His alleged sources, the NFL allegedly basically colluding against Shedeur Sanders. It's not a stretch. I made a video not too long ago also saying that I think the NFL and, to be honest, the NCAA were making an example out of Shedeur Sanders, right? Because again, Shedeur Sanders is kind of the prototype and going to be the first of many college athletes that will get drafted NFL already with millions upon millions of dollars going into the NFL or the NBA or whatever have you, right? Because when you look at it, you have the NIL in college, which is very unruly at this point. So the players making more money than rookies in the pro sports, if we're being honest, right? And so you have this situation like how Shedeur was drafted where he has so much marketing and money on him that it's like he's too big to fail, right? He is too big to fail. Like the only person similar to this would be like if Johnny Manziel was in the NIL era, right? Or Cam Newton in the NIL era. It's something like that, right? Where they would have made so much money, so much on the table money that it's like, okay, if they don't draft this guy, like, you know, it's just, he's too big to be a backup quarterback, like simply a backup quarterback forever. Like it's too much pressure. It will place immediate pressure on whoever's in the quarterback room. And Cleveland is doing that. You see how it's affecting the media, how the media treats Dylan Gabriel, how the media treats Shedeur Sanders, how the media treats Joe Flacco. Like all these questions they're attacking Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel with. Even speaking to Dylan Gabriel on his comments, right? I don't want to put too much stock into it. I want to give Dylan Gabriel the benefit of the doubt, even though I really don't like how he was coming. But I really think it's just more of anything else is like, hey, young man, this is how the media works. You can't be making like lazy comments like that can easily be misconstrued as a dig on your teammate. That's not going to help you, right? Because don't get it twisted, you're still a late round play. Like, you're not the future of our franchise. You're here off of whatever weird ass strength the owner wanted you here for. All right, and I just want to say that I just think Dylan Gabriel just missed. I think he missed the mark. I don't think his comments made sense anyway, unless it was an attack against Shedeur, which is the issue, which is why so many people took it and ran with it. I think he gave the media exactly what they're fishing for. I think they're fishing for this, and he's untrained. He is a rookie, and he's in a very peculiar situation, right, that most rookies would not find themselves in. And so there's that. The only way I could see him willingly being dumb enough to attack Shedeur Sanders like this in the press would be if someone high up in the Browns organization made some assurances to him personally that he would not be cut. And that would either be between Kenny Pickett and Shedeur Sanders. But he would not be cut. Because otherwise, Dylan Gabriel did not play well enough and does not have enough stock to be talking crazy about anyone on this team. I also think Shedeur Sanders is too popular. He is a very popular athlete. He has people across sports, across countries, holding their wrists up with that perfect timing. We saw the Cleveland Guardians do it. I believe we saw it in the Premier League. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's a celly that's been done in the Premier League already. You have people in the pro sports that are doing it, especially players in the Denver Broncos doing it. You have you have kids running up with him trying to do, like, he's a very popular sports figure at this point. And he didn't just do it simply because he's Deion Sanders' kid. Because if that was the case, Shiloh Sanders would be right up there as popular, and he's not. He is working really hard, though, and I've been seeing his improvements. Shout out to him. I do think he's going to find his way on special teams and be a very force and work his way into the defense again. That's a whole different topic. But shout out to Shiloh. Going back to Shedeur. It's just a situation, man, where I just feel like the NFL, I mean, let's be honest, the NFL, again, it's stupid to have to say this, allegedly colluded against the likes of Kyle Murray, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and many others. I made a video on this already about the NFL and the NFLPA and the scandal that's one of the worst and biggest scandals the NFL has ever faced, and it's just not being reported on, which is completely insane, right? Because, and again, it's a whole video with a lot of context and nuance. I'm going to go over it really quickly, but basically, when quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, when he wanted a deal, and then all of a sudden, when he like basically demanded a trade or requested a trade, and all of a sudden, no team in the NFL wanted Lamar Jackson. Like the Falcons were hell bent on riding with Desmond Ridder as their starting quarterback over a potentially available Lamar Jackson. And it wasn't even like, hey, teams inquired, but the asking price was too high. Teams straight up said we're good. There's only 2 to 3 teams in the NFL that can legitimately say, I would now mortgage something potentially for, like, I would even fish for Lamar Jackson. And that's the Bengals, Chiefs, Bills. That's really it. So yeah, man, that's crazy. So that's a situation. And they had this whole document. It's a very interesting situation. But basically, when Kyle Murray and Justin Herbert were doing their deals or trying to get their deals done, I think it was Kyle Murray who got his deal done first before Justin Herbert or vice versa. There are, and this is all documents that you can read. This is free for the public. You can read this shit. There's articles. It's all out there. So basically, the NFLPA, the heads of the NFLPA, were caught saying very, very terrible things about Russell Wilson. Basically, I hate to use this word about a person, but basically calling Russell Wilson a bitch, right? For not getting the contract that Russell Wilson wanted. It said it was his fault. He's a bitch. And obviously, they wanted to hide that because the NFLPA represents the players. And so they covered it up. And because of that, they also covered up some other stuff like text exchanges. Again, you can read all this. Text exchanges from owners saying that, thanking other owners for basically lowballing their quarterback so that they can lowball their quarterback, right, and such like that. These are all recorded documents that were brought up in the courtroom, and so you have all this, and basically it would have gave Lamar Jackson huge leverage to get the guaranteed money he wanted, right? But instead they hit it because NFLPA was on some bullshit and wanted to hide their shit. So not only did it end up losing the collusion case because of the NFLPA, but they also screwed over a bunch of quarterbacks and like 90 plus other players. And they didn't show the quarterbacks any of this until after they signed all their deals. So that's a huge no-no. And so the NFL has history of being really shady, right? Because this happens, this story breaks due to some great journalism and investigation. And then a month or so later, the NFL basically owns 10% or so of ESPN. And for those that forget, and I know, hey, I don't blame you for forgetting, ESPN is a sports news network based. That's really what they are. So with my bad, hold on, a sports news network that also happens to have a sports book, and the NFL owns a piece of that. Do you know how insane and morally gray we're getting with this? So it's just NFL is doing really weird, out in the open, shady practices. And let's look at Shedeur Sanders' contract. I haven't already brought up already. This man has already made $250 million in jersey sales. And he's estimated to keep around $14 million of that $250 million that he's generated so far. Now, those numbers are give or take. There are reported numbers, but there is inflation, overall team revenue. There's all kinds of things. So maybe it's not exactly 250 million. Maybe it's not taking exactly 14 million, but it is very close into that ballpark. Either way, he's making millions of dollars, and he's made this team millions of dollars already. And he's only played one preseason game, and he's their fourth string quarterback. That's how much power and juice Shedeur Sanders has. Imagine if he actually starts and he's able to generate even more fans and more fans. And Cleveland has 0 primetime games this season, by the way, which I didn't even think was possible. I thought even the shittiest team in the league still had to play on Thursday night. I don't even think they have I literally do not think they have one primetime game this season. Imagine if Shedeur starts and they become great, and then the next season they're deemed worthy to have at least one primetime game, and what that would do for his numbers. If for $250 million he can get $14 million or so, imagine what he's going to get when he reaches that 500. And this was and these figures are a month or two old, by the way. So he could already be at 300, 500 million. He could be somewhere in 300 to 400 million range. So imagine when he really gets going in his career. This brother could be a $1 billion quarterback. And not because of his NFL contract or purely playing quarterback position, but from endorsements, the contract, and this revenue split he's getting. This is a deadly combination. I would not be surprised if the NFL wanted to hide this. Again, this is all alleged stuff mixed. Again, you can go read the NFLPA scandal online. Like it's available everywhere for people. But yeah. So 250, and there's many videos like mine that explain the NFLPA situation in detail. You should really, really read that before saying the NFL would never collude or do any shit like that, because it's very damning. Very damning. But yeah, we have a contract like this. I mean, he can become a $1 billion athlete very easily, very quickly. His brand, his power, and he's backed by Nike, Gatorade, and so many other big, huge, multi-billion-dollar entities. Once he gets going, it's to the moon. It's to the moon, unlike any other player we've seen before. So that's just the truth. So do I feel like the NFL wants to make an example out of Shedeur Sanders? Hell yeah. I said it right after the draft, because we all saw it. I'm telling you, people will make you feel like you're insane or stupid. We all saw Shedeur Sanders play football in college. Now, does that always translate into the best NFL player? No. But to just say he's terrible based off his college stats don't make sense. That doesn't make sense, bro. Colorado had many problems. We all saw that O line, like in the running game, man. Come on, like don't do this, bro. And that defense at times, like don't do this, bro. Don't do this. Football is a team sport. Individual statistics. I mean, he won quarterbacks awards in college. Like, don't. Why are we acting like he is some bum, man? We can't be doing that. He's just, and Dylan Gabriel's just not better than Shedeur Sanders, and he didn't have a better performance. I don't know what Dan Orlovsky is trying to do, and again, with NFL owning piece of ESPN, I'm not saying they're paying Dan Orlovsky personally to do this, but I'm saying when it comes to all the stuff surrounding Shedeur Sanders, and you have analysts going out of their way to try to just de-rank or dethrone this young brother like this, it just doesn't look good. It just optically, if nothing else, that tinfoil hat off for a second. If nothing else, optically it looks horrible. And in the court of law, things like this is how you lose, or you have to shell out millions upon billions of dollars, because I'm telling you right now, the NFL is going to fuck around and find themselves in a lawsuit with every single starting quarterback in the NFL along with Shedeur Sanders by the time the next CBA comes around. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. Again, that NFLPA, NFL scandal alone, I would not be surprised if some of these quarterbacks in a couple years sit out and refuse to play a single game until answers or money has been distributed, because and Shedeur Sanders could be the catalyst to this. I think he just wants a ball. I don't think he cares. But if he was someone petty, or his career gets completely derailed without ever getting a fair shot, I best believe the NFL is going to have some explaining to do. And optically, they're not doing themselves any favors by owning a piece of a sports-centric news network who has a sports book and also already has documentation of, for whatever reason, not considered colluding, but by definition is literally colluding against NFL players, especially prominent players. I just don't understand why it's so much of a reach that the NFL would want to set an example, or the NCAA and NFL would want to extend a situation. Now, the NCAA and college football and the NFL don't really know how to work together, but there's a first time for everything, and I wouldn't be surprised if college is like, hey, this NIL thing is kind of out of hand, and NFL is like, yeah, it's too out of hand, and now you have players that we can't bury because they make too much, they generate too much money, they have too much money, they have too much hype. We can't really do much with some of these players, right? Like, Cam Ward is the first overall pick and has gotten little to no coverage, right? That's how big of a brand Shedeur Sanders has built for himself. So it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how the Shedeur Sanders situation continues to go. From what was reported, to the public, is that I'm pretty sure he's playing in this preseason finale. Will he start or not? I don't know. But if Dylan Gabriel can stay healthy, if Kenny Pickett can stay healthy, I want to see Tyler Huntley. If Tyler Huntley gets a roster spot and Shedeur just gets straight up dropped, that tells you everything you need to know. But I better see Shedeur Sanders starting and I don't care if it's Dylan Gabriel starting and Shedeur going second or third, but this is a perfect time to compare Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel in live game action. I want to see that. The world wants to see it. It will answer little to no questions because they're both rookies trying to find their place in the league. But it will at least, it won't quite anything. It'll make even more of a shitstorm, to be honest with you. But at least for Shedeur is another opportunity to put something on tape to show teams who actually need a quarterback and are serious about winning or building a winning culture can go get themselves or justify spending capital on getting you. So we'll see. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know y'all's thoughts down below on the Shedeur Sanders situation. I'm genuinely curious. I know there's people on all sides. Let's try to be civil but I do want to hear everyone's opinion, even if you, excuse me, even if you disagree with me. I would love to hear your thoughts because I do think it's a very interesting discussion to be had. I just wish people would use full context when talking about it. All right, peace out.